Hi, it's Dr. Cheryl Renee, and I'm here with you at the Beauty into Power Show. I have a very insightful show for you today. I'm so excited to bring on this wonderful expert. He is a dynamic, power-filled, impactful, and inspiring individual. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about the baby boomers. Yes, those of us who are in that age that are turning 65 and plus come 2030. That is huge. We are the biggest demographic, the largest demographic to age in the entire history of our time. So let me give you some statistics. By 2030, all baby boomers will be age 65 or older. Why is that important? Because, listen, I remember growing up, 65 was old. You might as well create your own funeral plan because there wasn't much more for you to do. But most of us, and yes, I am a boomer, we are outliving our predecessors. We're outliving our family members that have passed on. And we have to figure out and navigate how to do that more effectively, how to keep our health in optimum condition, how to keep our strength, how to keep our minds stable and active. Yes, this is a new challenge, and it's an exciting new world because the world is what we make of it and what we put into it. So having said that, I'm going to give you another statistic. Yes, the baby boomers, again, United States Census, by 2030, all baby boomers will be age 65 or older. Additionally, a key aspect of the report is that the effect that the aging of the baby boomer generation, those born between 1946 and 1964, will have on the U.S. population and society in general. It will have a huge impact on the population in general. That is huge. Between the ages of 65 and older, we're going to see more issues regarding health care, living, income, and everything affects everyone in this world. You're going to see a larger group of people being impacted. This is important, which is why I have this wonderful man here today, because he's going to talk to you about keeping your body in optimum condition. Or we're going to have him back. He's going to do some demonstration when he comes back. But today is a wonderful conversation and how we can take where we are and stay healthy, wonderful, and empowered. So I bring to you none other than Mr. Jean Laguerre, Mr. Natural USA.
Thank you for that beautiful intro, Dr. Cheryl. Yes, it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to share what I refer to as my gift in the health and fitness industry.
It's amazing. You have a wonderful legacy that you are leaving us with, and you're still involved in this whole industry. So can you give our audience a little bit more of a backdrop about your past? How did you get into this industry? And what impact were you able to make having come into it?
Well, as you said, we're part of the baby boomer industry, and it's something that, we grew up differently. Being physically active was the norm. You're talking before cable television, before the cell phones, before the internet, social media, so on and so on. So being very active as a child growing up, playing sports, riding my bike, it was the norm. So for me, in high school, played 3 different sports: football, wrestling, handball team. And then all of a sudden from football, bodybuilding came along. In the weight room, I started lifting and discovered through the help of a very insane type coach that I could squat 400 pounds for 20 reps. And I was only 16. I benched 225 for 5 or 6 reps at only 185 pounds. And as crazy as it was, I fell in love with it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So did you feel the physical change in your body?
Oh, yeah. when you discover what your body can do, it's empowering. You know, you for me as a child growing up, I was big into comic books and the superheroes and being strong and protecting the weak and just the overall look of a superhero. So I found out when you work out with weights, you know, all of a sudden your body starts to resemble a superhero. You're building muscle you never had, and the transformation begins, and you're strong. And for me, it was just an incredible feeling.
That's amazing. So there was the physical transformation, but then had to become the mental transformation, which you also were addressing. You felt empowered, correct?
Absolutely.
That's amazing. And now you've taken that career, which also includes you having earned a title, correct? And that title was?
Well, I started competing in 1980 at the age of 17. You know, but the crazy part was, as I got into bodybuilding, I knew nothing about the sport. I didn't know there was drug usage in the sport. You know, back in 1979, there weren't a bunch of gyms. There weren't personal trainers or coaches. And I just told myself I could do it. And I built a gym at home in my garage. The first bench my mom bought me was $39.99.
I love it.
At a department store, I read books, magazines, but I had a great deal of discipline. I trained 6 days a week, 4.5 hours a day.
Wow.
And I believed that when I would compete that I would place first or second. That was the crazy part, you know, but I was very confident that I would do well. And in 1980, I entered the Teenage New York City, and I took second place, losing to a 19-year-old. And that just kind of gave birth to it.
That's amazing. So your first entree to the actual competition aspect of the sport, and you actually placed somewhere. That's amazing.
Yeah. Somewhere it could have been fifth, but second is pretty big.
That's very good. Somewhere on the Richter scale. I'm really proud of that. That again, audience, if you believe in yourself, you can do it. Here's the exact example of this, which is why I have him sitting with us today. And I pray that you really gain something from this, because I want you to now share with our audience, because you told me some really empowering things. You explained to me, and you also shared with the audience, there was this knowledge of drug use that became prevalent, and obviously you could have access to, correct?
Absolutely.
What stand did you take on that?
Well, for me, none of that made any sense. You know, I knew that the sport represented health at the highest level, you know, just epitomizing, you know, what could be attainable through self-discipline and dedication and hard work. And for me, the drugs just had I couldn't see it as something that was a part of that, because I just felt like it was counterintuitive of what the sport was supposed to represent. So it wasn't until 1985, when I was 22 years old, after winning 13 championships in 4 years by the age of 20.
Amazing.
And I was in 5 magazines, that I was qualified to compete nationally. So I said, okay, that was a goal, to compete national, win a national title. And then the first time out, I'm competing, and I notice I'm smaller than everybody else, which I was trying to understand how these guys are so big. And I came in just a little bit over 200 pounds, which is not huge at 6'1". And there were guys shorter than me, 20, 40 pounds heavier.
Wow.
And I'm saying,
how?
You know, what's going on here? And then another competitor heard me backstage, you know, and he said, those guys are juicing. And I'm like, juicing? I said, what's that? He said, steroids, man, they're taking drugs. And I'm like, drugs? So I'm like, okay. I said, how am I going to compete against this?
Right.
And I figured, you know, I was only 22 at the time. I said, I'm only training 6 years. I'm still young. I said, my body probably will get a lot better, and I'll put on more size.
So you took a stand, it sounds like, against drugs.
Absolutely. You know, because, you know, when we think of drugs, we think of people like on, you know, heroin and all, cocaine and all kinds of, destructive recreational drugs. And for me, if the drug was supposed to increase your strength and speed up your muscle recovery and help you put on more size, it just still was a drug in my book.
Exactly.
It wasn't classified to me as a good drug because a drug is a drug.
That's right.
And for me, I just couldn't see myself becoming addicted or dependent to do something that I believe could be done without drugs.
Excellent. So, audience, basically, he's telling us that you can become whatever you want, but you don't need any additives, unnatural additives to get there. You may have to put in a little bit more work, correct?
A lot more work.
But the payoff is fantastic. Am I right?
Absolutely.
You were just sharing earlier, if you don't mind, just talk to my audience about when you were competing and you saw people literally losing their lives. You said this to me earlier with that usage.
It's sad. I've seen competitive bodybuilders die in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and die ugly, all kinds of severe health conditions with their heart, with their organs. And when you see these guys on stage and, they're at the top of their game and they have these unreal, hulking, muscular, lean physiques, and you're like, wow. And then all of a sudden, when they get sick, it's the complete opposite. To see these people bedridden and suffering and, IVs and organ failure. And it was just a horrendous way to see someone lose their life after looking like the most healthiest person you've ever laid your eyes on, just like this hulking superhero type figure. And all of a sudden, when the drugs kick in, they are the complete opposite. Just so for me, it was just heartbreaking to see that side of it.
What a dichotomy. Well, exposing that, I should say actually discussing that, helps, I pray, my audience to look at this thing a lot more. I know we're in this shortcut. I call it the shortcut industry in this world. Everyone wants to take the easy way out. Why should I have to work so hard? I just want to be rich. I don't need an education. I want to be a bodybuilder. I don't want to take 20 years to build my body. I'll just take this. But there's a price to be paid for that. There's a price to be paid for that. And I love the fact that you're here showing us that this is what the payoff is.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, his physique is phenomenal. Gene is an amazing example of what you can do when you put your mind to setting a goal and doing it the healthy way.
Thank
I
you so
applaud
much.
you, sir.
Thank you.
That had to been a strain and a struggle to stand against the grain and take that stand. To stand against the grain and take that stand. That had to been huge.
It was, but everything is faith-driven and belief in oneself. That what appeared to be the impossible was not impossible and could be done. And for me, it was just a big payoff in the long run to know that 30, 40 years later that I'd be healthy. Not suffer the consequences of what these other athletes had to encounter because of their decision. So for me, it was a no-brainer. It's either I was going to achieve every goal that I set forth and win a national title and be regarded as one of the best to ever do it, or I'd come up short and I'd still be healthy and have my life and know that I gave everything I had and I did it the right way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Gene, I'm really, really inspired by what you were stating early, and that taking a shortcut is no payoff. It actually can put you at death's door. And you are the epitome, literally the epitome of doing it the right way and having the positive reveal. This is it. This is what you can do and what you can look like without the drugs. And I'm really, really proud to have you here today. And thank you. Thank you for sharing. I want you to also discuss what you feel, particularly with the baby boomers, what we can do Just keep ourselves fit, keep ourselves active, keep our minds active. People are flipping out. I don't know if you've noticed. People are losing their minds. The stress and the strain is taking people to another level. And I'm really concerned about the stress levels that we're dealing with here in America in particular. And then the effects that it's having on our body. A lot of us are overeating, we're emotionally eating, and we're not happy with where we are. Even with all the money in the world. Even with the money. I'm not talking about those who be considered broke and on the poor scale. Okay? We're talking about people with money. Where do you think our attention should be health-wise to keep our bodies healthy in this age range in particular?
That's a great question, and I have a pretty good answer for it.
Great.
Basically, what's being stricken by, the baby boomers is heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes or diabetes in general, and obesity. And what it is, we pick up a lot of bad habits. Like you said, we get stressed out, we overeat, or we eat badly, or we smoke, or we drink, or we do drugs. We're looking for all of these negative outlets to compensate for the demands of, that we place upon ourselves. I can't really say it's society because it's all in how we look at,
Exactly.
what we do and what we desire versus being influenced by what society is saying, okay, this is what you should do and this is what you should have, and falling into that trap and not really seeing what is of true value. So for me, we have to take care of the heart.
Yes.
High blood pressure is not good because the heart attack and stroke epidemic is out of control. I've worked with clients as young as early 40s that have suffered strokes.
Wow.
I had a client early 50s that had 3 strokes before he was 52. And I have a client currently who's 76 who had a stroke 4 years ago. So when you see these things occurring, it's not just life-changing, but it becomes disabilitating.
Yes.
I had a friend from high school, 2 years older than me, suffered a stroke 5-10 years ago. He's in a nursing home in a wheelchair, and he was an athlete in high school. So this heart disease thing is real.
Very real.
And getting dependent on medication is not the solution.
Right.
Because eventually the medication is going to take side effects, or maybe you become dependent on it, or you forget to take it, and then there's a whole nother set of problems that occur behind that. So we got to take care of our nutrition, and we have to do exercises to strengthen our heart rate and lower our blood pressure. That's first and foremost. We got to remember, you could look at the body and say, oh, I want nice arms and nice back, nice legs, nice stomach, nice legs. But the first muscle that you got to give your attention to is your heart. That's the muscle that's working around the clock that's keeping us alive.
Around the clock.
So address that muscle first and take care of the heart, and then everything else you can devote your attention to. But do not walk around with high blood pressure and a poor diet, and you think like, okay, let me work on these other things, and the heart is saying, no, me first.
Exactly.
So address that as your first and foremost.
So how do you, what would you recommend for someone who, let's say, has a crazy work schedule, not a 9 to 5, but a 9 to 9, eats their main meal at maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night, because that's when they get home, and they're snacking throughout the day. A lot of people are living like this. This is real. They're sitting in cubicles, and they have deadlines to meet, and their life is on hold until they're walking out that door, and that includes their diet. What do you think could be a remedy for someone like that?
Well, situations like that, you have to be more intelligent about it. I would say meal prep would be important. Supplementation would be important. And not allowing the rigors of your work schedule dictate, how you take care of yourself.
Yes.
Because, the work schedule is designed to take you down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because most of us become enslaved through our profession and our goals
Yes.
and what we do for a living. And we put that before we put ourselves. And that's not always a good remedy. You know, you have to, everything requires a sense of balance. So I tell people all the time, a good workout doesn't have to take an hour, doesn't even have to take 30 minutes. You know, you just have to do something that serves your body in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's going for a 15-minute walk, you know, at a brisk pace, you know, a jump rope is something that is very, you know, convenient. You could jump rope for 5 minutes and it feels like you went walking for a mile.
Right.
You
That's
know,
right.
you could do a set of maybe 30 to 50 jumping jacks and it gets your heart rate up.
Mm-hmm.
You could get on the ground and do some core exercises and a set of push-ups, and your body, and it's circulating the blood throughout your body, and your muscles feel invigorated from it, and the routine could have took you 15 to 20 minutes.
Hey, we'd be excited to have you on as a guest. Think you have an innovative product, brand new items, maybe a tech idea, maybe a brand new project you want to promote? Well, guess what? There's room for you. Look below. Send an email to team@Beauty into Power Show. Looking forward to having you on.